Hello everybody, my name is Luke Marr and this is Hot Mode, and today on Hot Mode we are coming to you with your CFDA Awards Fashion Roast and Review for 2023. Now listen, the Council of Fashion Designers of America every year hosts these awards where they celebrate designers. The designers vie for Best Emerging Designer, or Women's Wear Designer of the Year, or Accessories Designer of the Year, or Menswear Designers of the Year. What's happened in recent years is a lot of celebrities are showing up. The celebs are saying, listen, we love the Council of Fashion Designers of America. We love the American designers. And it's really fun. It's really exciting. I got to go this year. If you want to see Instagram, TikTok, Hot Mode, get out, you know, we put the videos up. You can see everybody walking and talking as they do. But without further ado, we're going to get into roasting and reviewing all of these looks. Any celebrities that I talk to, I apologize in advance because I probably said, I love your outfit, but I might not have. And so I'm sorry. Kind of. First up, we're starting with Anne Hathaway. She really is beautiful in person. And she's wearing this Ralph Lauren look. This is from the most recent Ralph Lauren collection, and I'm pretty positive it is a two-piece denim set. Now, there is a bodice in this darker blue wash, and it seems to have some sort of motif running through it. To me, the motif seems to be a little bit floral, a little bit sort of decorative. It reminds me of something maybe you would see in the 20th century, something along those lines. Maybe it's a 19th century motif reference, I don't know. But we can see that there are buttons that run down the front. It creates like a faux waistcoat sort of detail by the fact that we can see those two little divots of fabric in the front as well, and it exposes the belly button. I feel like normally with a silhouette like this, you would have something that actually wraps up into the shoulder and it would create a vest effect, and you would have a shirt underneath it that would actually cover the belly button area. But I like the fact that it's this faux vest experience. And I wish also we'd gotten to see like maybe just a little bit more of looks like these on the Ralph Lauren runway this season, because you know, Ralph could do whatever he wants with denim and I'd sit and watch. I'd be happy, I'd be content. Now, as for this high-waisted skirt in denim that also has a floral motif running throughout it, I love it. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I think it speaks to Ralph Lauren's work and history in terms of Americana classics. But at the same time, I love the fact that the denim, the fabric, is actually getting treatment. It's getting a motif. It's getting some sort of bleaching. It's getting a bunch of different dyes. Or there's a movement and a groovement of these dyes in different places to create different effects. So you can see that up top, there's a little bit more of a lighter wash. And then we get around like the lower knee area and there's a darker wash, and that exposes a lot more of those white floral motifs. It's just a really cool concept. I love the idea. I like this sort of Canadian dress-cedo. It's cool, it's weird, it's fun, it's funky. I think Anne is pulling it off. I was happy with it. Next up, we have Ayesha Curry, who is wearing Diotima. Now, Diotima is a brand that I honestly really, really love. I remember when Rachel Scott, who is the founder of Diotima, was at the LVMH Prize, and I was like, she should win. It's beautiful work. Here we can see this gorgeous crochet style in red that in reality is sort of sheer underneath, and by in reality I mean very sheer. There's no lining to it whatsoever. But there's just something about the way that the crochet frills itself out in different manners that I think is rather enjoyable texturally. We can see that it's a halter style, and we have this really deep sort of red that creates the overarching effect of the crochet dress. But there are little black segments as well. Like we can see right at the nipple area, there's this beautiful sort of like star effect in this black crochet. We can also see right at the center of the pelvis, there is a black sort of flower there as well. I actually initially thought that that was maybe just like a brief or something underneath, but it's actually, you know, the crochet. It's all piped in black. So you have these little sort of red flounces that flow off, but at the very edge, there's black, and I kind of love it. I think it's cute. We do have a little bit of a slit detail, so circular flounce effect is actually, I think, I'm pretty positive, not done all the way around. Rather, those sort of circular half circle flounces are sitting on both sides and they allow the leg to be exposed. It's a really cool concept, and I think that slowly over time, Diotima can actually like keep pushing it and pushing it, building new silhouettes off of it. I'm excited to see where it goes, and congrats to Diotima for winning Emerging Designer of the Year. Next up, we have Ayo Edibiri, and she is wearing Loewe. Now, this is a pretty simple black silk halter dress. I like it. Now, here's the thing. For Loewe, it's not really something I would expect. You know what I mean? When I was looking at it, I was like, oh, it's Carolina Herrera. That's genuinely what I thought for, like, at least a day and a half. But I like the idea of Loewe being able to do, obviously, the avant-garde, the weird, the wacky, the crazy, the kooky, but at the same time, You put a black silk in front of Jonathan Anderson, he's like, oh no, I got it. I could do a bias cut, don't you worry. I'll make her look sexy. I love this little halter style. I love the drape of it. It's really simple, it's really easy, it's really effortless. It's not trying to take attention away from the rest of the dress, which I feel like is something that happens a lot with silk dresses when they're form-fitting. As to the rest of the dress, it just sort of falls really easy. It's simple, it hugs the body, but it doesn't sort of cling to it. It just sort of effortlessly drapes itself over. It's a really simple, easy, lovely silhouette. It works really, really well on her. She looked stunning. And at the same time, I like to see Loewe do something a little bit more glamour without the, I don't want to say overzealousness, but like without the artsy-fartsy. I love an artsy-fartsy. I never want Jonathan Anderson to stop doing it, but I'm also like, oh, he is multifaceted. And he's letting you all know. Next up, we have Camila Mendes, who's wearing Coach. Now listen, on the runway, did I like this? No, because there was a different context to it. I didn't like the fact that this was like Stewart Vever's 10 years collection, and it's a knit that's sort of torn. I didn't love that. Listen, on Camila Mendes, I think it looks good. I think it's a nice red carpet dress. I think it adds a little bit of sheer, a little bit of sexiness, a little bit of showing off the body, but at the same time, I think with the black bra and the black brief underneath, I think that it actually gives that sheer detailing, but it does something a little bit different by doing it in this knit. I think normally you wouldn't think of like a knit as like super sexy and showing off the body, you know, that kind of vibe. I also think it adds a little bit of like emo flair, you know, a little mall goth effect with the tears and the rips in the actual sort of knits. It's cute, it's fun. I thought you looked good. I think it's a nice dress on a red carpet. I think it works. I didn't like it again on the runway for the context of it, but I think outside of that, it's nice. Next up, we have Cynthia Erivo, who is wearing Thom Browne. I love it. I love a ball gown silhouette, like a big, beautiful sort of strapless black ball gown. And then where it's built in, there's this like menswear element. So the button-down shirt, the little cropped jacket, maybe sometimes it's a bolero, but here it's more of a cropped sort of suit jacket and a bow tie. I love it. It's cute, it's chic, it's elegant, it's lovely. It fits into me, the Thom Browne idea of deconstructing and reconstructing this concept of menswear and women's wear and combining them together. She looks great. She looks super fun. As always, Cynthia Erivo, I think, does fashion. She gets it. She's a fashion girl. Next up, we have Demi Moore wearing Carolina Herrera. This is a strapless silver paillette and sequin dress that creates little sort of silver flower petals through the use of the paillette placement. Listen, it fits her really, really well. That's what I'm gonna say. I think that waist snatched. I think the strapless detailing worked. Maybe the dress looks a little bit long, just a tad bit long to me, because Demi Moore is, I would say, on the shorter side. So I feel like maybe just where it's like swallowing the ankle here is a little concerning, but I also just think it's possibly the pose. But I do love the way that it fits the waist. I think it really, really works there. It's not a great, amazing, overwhelming, wonderful dress that I will never, ever forget in my life. Absolutely not. But do I think it's a horrible dress that will absolutely traumatize me going forward and something that my therapist is really gonna have to be dealing with for the next 6 months? Also, no. So it's there. It's okay. Next up, we have M. Rada. Now, she is wearing a Tory Burch dress. This is a draped cocktail dress with a one shoulder sort of detail. It's this little light pale yellow, like a daisy yellow. Easy. It's simple. It kind of feels M. Rada. But at the same time with Tory Burch recently, I feel like she was trying to get away from like the flats. She's like, I am not basic. And I'm like, okay, listen, if you're gonna put out stuff that says I'm not basic, I'll listen. And I think this is a good example of that. The cocktail dress, it's sort of sexy, it's sort of easy, it's something that a woman could wear. I'm learning a lot more about what women actually want to wear in their everyday lives. It's tough. I apologize for all the things that I've said in the past, but I just think that this is something that is a little bit more realistic of what a young woman or an older woman would say. I could wear that. Now, the length, I think, works. I think the draping adds a little bit of intrigue, interest, detail, a little bit more glamour, a little more gather. I think the color, again, it's good. It's solid. That one asymmetrical shoulder detail adds, again, a little bit of interest, a little bit of intrigue. You have to be interested and intrigued to wear it, but to somebody, they want it. Overall, is it simple? Yes. But do I think that in a weird way, Tory Burch seems to be like on a tightrope? And one side, you have this really sort of artistic, intriguing direction. And then the other side, you have this sort of commercial, really understandable, reasonable direction. And she's kind of on the tightrope, balancing the two. And I think she's doing a pretty decent job of it. So I think this is a good example of that. Next up, we have Emma Chamberlain, who is wearing Thom Browne. I love this. I thought she ate this up. This was a moment. This was night at the museum. This was sensation. Now, Thom Browne, there is a lot of it. I feel like we actually haven't talked about a Thom Browne look yet, but that's just because the way that the naming goes. But there's a lot of TB because Thom Browne is the president of the CFDA. Now, she's wearing this little Thom Browne, it looks like it's a boucle jacket in black. It's really simple. It's really easy. It has a sort of 80s power shoulder. It sits over top of this silk bodice dress. It looks almost like a corset of sorts. We can see the seamage running through. It looks a little bit like boning. Then we have this padded out hip exaggeration, which if that's actually Emma's hips, I apologize. They're beautiful. They're amazing. I think there's a lot of people that would love them, but I'm pretty positive that these hips are actually padded out. And as we move down, this cocktail length strapless black dress actually has a second sort of, it almost looks like a garter experience because there's that slit in between and there's those little pieces holding the second part of the dress, which is again that boucle tweed, and it creates a sort of broken up skirt effect, but at the same time it reminds me weirdly enough of garter belts. I think it's a cool way to update a little black dress. I think it's fun. I think it adds a little bit of drama and excitement. I like the fact that also the fabrics are coalescing between the jacket and the bottom of the skirt so they don't just feel out of the blue random, oh, I just need to put a jacket on. It really, truly is detailed. And at the same time, it's black with a little sliver of white set in. She looks great. Next up, we have Greta Lee wearing Loewe. Now, this is a black fitted dress, but the thing that I love about it is, again, we have this really sort of simple black fitted dress done impeccably. The fit on her is lovely. It's gorgeous. I love the way that it pulls just so slightly at the floor, but this neckline is sort of built out with this big gold ring that creates this really scoop neck detail and effect, and it just feels very artistic. And I think there's something about Jonathan Anderson that he loves art, he really is intrigued by art, and he brings it into his work, whether it's on the runway, whether it's on the actual physical runway, whether it's on a model. And I think this sort of feels like there's some sort of artistic reference going on, probably some sort of modern artist in a gallery that I've never heard of. I love it. I love it. I think it just adds a really cool, easy, simple detail. Totally blows everything that we normally see and think of out of the water because it's just so easy and effortless. But at the same time, it's so different than what we normally see because I think with red carpet looks, a lot of the time it's just, I've seen that, I've seen that, I've seen that, I've seen that. But I've seen it in different fabric, different texture, different beading, different embellishment, different sequin. Here, it's just so simple. And yet at the same time, it's almost like a little profound. I was really intrigued by it. I thought it was a really cool dress. Next up, we have Gwyneth Paltrow. And listen, here's the thing about Gwyneth. I, saw her and I was kind of like, oh, Gwyneth, okay. Like a little simple, but whatever. She's wearing Goop, which I did not know until now had a fashion brand. It is called G-Label by Goop. You learn something new every day. Now she's wearing this turtleneck. I tried to ID it. I'm pretty positive it's one of the G-Label turtlenecks. And I'm pretty positive that they're like 100% cashmere, which nowadays is a little bit different than like the 100% cashmere I think that we normally think of, just because there's a lot more cashmere readily available. But there's a difference in terms of cashmere, in terms of quality. So the thing is, there's a lot of things that are 100% cashmere, that's great, but like, is the cashmere actually of amazing, wonderful, good quality, luxurious cashmere? That's TBD. There's certain brands I think that really do get the best quality cashmere. I'm just unsure if G-Label is one of them. The other thing is she's wearing this high-waisted black silk skirt. It has a long sort of slit in the front. Overall, is it very signature Gwyneth for Goop? Sure, absolutely, in terms of look. Do I think it's really like exciting? No. At the same time, I think now that Gwyneth is in the realm of an American designer, using that term very loosely, I'd love for Gwyneth to talk to me about patterns. As soon as somebody talks to me about patterns, I'll say, okay, fine. I'll put designer, I guess, somewhere in the title. But if you can't talk to me about patterns, don't say designer. Not that Gwyneth said that she's a designer. She didn't. I'm just saying. Does it seem like it's quintessential G-Label? Sure. Am I like believing quintessential G-Label is like, oh my God, such an aesthetic? Not really. The other thing is like Goop sells other American designers. I don't know, wear like some of the American designers that you sell instead. That would be better because it's more kind of fashion to me than a black cashmere sweater and a high-waisted silk skirt. Next up, we have Hari Nef wearing JW Anderson. Now, if you guys didn't know, Jonathan Anderson was actually awarded International Designer of the Year, so it makes sense why a lot of people wearing Loewe and JW Anderson. I like this dress. I think that the halter style, it's cute, it's fine, it wraps, it crisscrosses, the draping is very sort of Jonathan, I would say. Also, there's that sort of layering of these draped swags, which I also genuinely think sort of plays into recent work that we've seen at Loewe too. The exposure of the stomach, the lack of sleeves, the sort of length of the dress and showing off of the legs as well, I think all plays into this idea of sort of, again, making like sexy, cute, fun things that somebody would actually say, oh, I could wear that. That's something I could wear out on the town, to a wedding, to a whatever. And at the same time, it still has a little bit of that jazzy Jonathan Anderson quirkiness. I liked it. I thought it was cute. I thought it was fun. It was a nice kind of casual look, but at the same time, a little bit of depth, a little bit of texture to it. Next up, we have Kim Kardashian wearing chrome hearts. Now listen, I don't know a whole lot about chrome hearts. It's not the brand that I am so enveloped with, although people are like, how do you not know about chrome hearts? Chrome hearts is the brand, and I'm like, to who? I have to say, this Chrome Hearts leather dress definitely, I think, looks good on Kim. Chrome Hearts is an American brand. It started off, I believe, as jewelry, I think in the 1980s, based in LA. But what's happened slowly but surely, it's become sort of like a cult brand. People love it. People are obsessed with it. People wait online for it. I've been into one of the stores, and I do find it very, very intriguing, to say the very least. But these leather sort of crosses have become a signature of the brand. A lot of them are sort of appliqued on top, and I believe that this is a halter neck leather dress that it's a silhouette that looks really good on Kim. I have to say, without a doubt, it makes sense. But adding the leather Chrome Hearts signature crosses on it, I think definitely does capture the brand ethos. They do a lot of denim styles, I know, with these leather appliques of the crosses, so I get it. I'm seeing it. Again, I think the silhouette, you can't really go wrong on her. I think it works. I think it makes sense. I just think it's a kind of total package look for her, and it works very well. Do we think it's radical fashion, super exciting? Absolutely not. But at the same time, I don't think that's really what Kim is doing. I do think it's intriguing that she wore Chrome Hearts rather than wearing her own brand like Skims or her sister's brand Kai. I do like it. I get it. She looked good. Next up, we have Kim Petras, who is wearing vintage LaCroix. Now, this is a look from spring 2007. It's haute couture. Kim looked great. I love this. I think the silhouette is perfect on her. I love the fact that it really snatches in the waist, and then you have this beautiful sort of flouncy peplum that jumps out and covers up, you know, a lot of the pelvic area, but creates a really, really intriguing silhouette. Then you have a mermaid skirt that, again, is flounced and tiered. It looks really, really lovely. And then I'm pretty positive that on the runway, there was a sort of flower that sat on the waist, and that's what covered the waist and sort of brought it all together. But here, Kim has seemingly repositioned it to sit right underneath her neck and sort of creates a really intriguing, almost like a broachy kind of effect without being a brooch. I thought it was cool, thought it was chic, thought it was elegant. I think it sort of also like forces one to elongate the neck, which with a silhouette like this, you have to stand straight. You have to have great posture, which, listen, I don't know too much about having great posture. If you've ever seen me in real life, I apologize. I think that's a smart way to really keep yourself sort of sitting up straight, upright, moving and grooving in that regard. I think the silhouette really does look good on her, and I think it's a tough silhouette, I would say, to pull off. I think a lot of the time you really, really, truly have to know what you're doing here, because you gotta be leggy, you gotta be long, and at the same time, there's a lot of flounce. There's a lot of volume, and it's broken up, I think, pretty well that you can see that silhouette. You can see a structure to it. There's a solid foundation. I love it. Am I like, oh, I'd love to see a little bit more of like a vintage American style, you know, a vintage American designer? Sure, but at the same time, if I'm gonna get something that's not American, at least it looks like this. Next up, we have LaKeith Stanfield, and he is wearing Amiri. Now, normally when I think of Amiri, it's not a boucle tweed two-piece set with a pink shirt and a crystal, or at least a netted sort of top and a crochet hat. So I'm happy. I'm content. I feel like this is totally different for Amiri to me, or at least my stereotypical idea of what Amiri looks like. And so I appreciate that LaKeith sort of went for it. The pants, I like the length. I like the bagginess. I like the fact that they're sort of an older, I would say, trouser. They give a trouser sort of look to them, but at the same time, they're in this sort of white, crispy tweed, which I don't think is a normal fabric for this cut of pant. So I appreciate that. As for the jacket, I think it works. I love the big flower brooch sitting on the pocket. I think it's cool. I think it works. Again, it matches. I think that little sort of pink silk ribbon that flows down, maybe it's meant to be like a scarf, something along those lines. I think that it adds in. It doesn't take away. It doesn't detract. And the netted mesh top, again, I think builds a totally different idea of cut of suit, and I like it. The hat works, the shoes, great. All in all, LaKeith, he's a fashion man. He knows what he's doing. We then had a little Yachty who is wearing Thom Browne. Loved it. Loved it. I also will say, just like having seen Yachty there, he was like very happy to be there, it seemed. But also at the same time, the Thom makes sense to me. I feel like Lil Yachty, at least for me, the first thing that I ever knew about Lil Yachty was that he was one of Kanye's models for Yeezy. So I feel like he's always been attached to fashion in some way. I love the suit jacket. It's great. It's wonderful. It works. Maybe the sleeves could fit a little bit better, but like, it's fine. I also think that the little velvet waistcoat is cool. The shirt, bow tie. I feel like the bow tie could be a little bit better fitted, but you know, shit happens while you're moving and grooving. But I love the skirt. I love this pleated skirt. I think it's super cool. It's a beautiful little kick pleat. It's fun. It's funky. I feel like a lot of the times a rapper especially would be like, no, I'm not going to wear that. I don't want to wear that. But Yachty went for it. He's going for it. He's handling it. I think it looks great. Will I say that this is like kilt adjacent? Sure. But is it a kilt? No. It's not. It's a skirt. It said it in the PR email. I do love the sock. Again, the 4-striped sock and a black patent leather shoe. It's very cool. I actually was at a talk where Thom Browne was asked about his stripes and why he chose 4 stripes. And he's very funny because he was like, you know, a really big German company was like, no, you can't do 3 stripes. So we did 4. And I'm like, he's a great man. We stand. Long story short, love this for Yachty. Think it's cool. Love a man in a skirt that actually fits. Next up, we have Madelyn Cline, who is wearing Oscar de la Renta. Now, this is a strapless dress, and it's desert rose dress, so I think that you will be seeing a lot of sort of floral flowers, all that sort of stuff. Not really like roses from what I can see, more of like a desert daisy. It's the silver strapless gown. It has this really sort of lovely little scoop neckline with a sort of higher bust and cup area. It's sweet. It fits her pretty well, I have to say. And I like the fact that it's pretty heavy up top in terms of embellishments and appliques. But then as you reach around the knee area, it really sort of fades out and it lets the flow of this little sort of crystal skirt go, really happen, really sort of feel a little bit more diaphanous. Whereas up here, it's a little bit stiffer, a little bit more, It's not really my kind of dress. It's not something that I would ever say, oh, you should wear that. But I also understand that very much so. A lot of people like those kinds of styles. They're really into them. They like to sparkle. They like to shine. The appliques, I think, are, again, like a print preference. It's something that you want. It's something that you would love. Great. Happy for you. I do really love the neckline. I think that's really, really beautiful. I'll take it. Next up, we have Martha Stewart, who is wearing Dennis Basso. Listen, here's the thing that I've learned about Dennis Basso is like, the social register loves a Dennis Basso. Lives, laughs, loves a Dennis Basso. Like, it is a woman or a man who lives that upper crust, aristocratic-y, waspy lifestyle. And they live it, and they're happy in it, and they do it. And I feel like Martha kind of sits in that world. I think that the suit, it looks more of a jumpsuit with a jacket. I think kind of brings in a little bit more of a youthfulness, a little fun, a little flair. I like the wide leg pant. I like the motif of the grid with the sequins in it in black. I think it works well. I think the suit jacket isn't sort of poorly fitted or anything along those lines, so it definitely helps to create a nice little shape. At the same time, like, the neckline is cute. It's showing off a little bit of the girls, which I love to see. I think that's fun. I think that's nice. Overall, I think it's a nice, simple, easy look. It's Dennis Basso. I'm not really expecting, you know, fashion. But at the same time, I think if you're going to be, again, a very simple, easy, effortless designer, you have to make sure that things fit well. And I think that things fit well. Next up, we have Mary J. Blige wearing Christian Siriano. I love this. I think it looks great on her. You know, for Christian Siriano, I think it's very, very well done. I think that the fit of it is fantastic. It clings to the body. And at the same time, I think the sheer element in that black really, really works. It shows off the curves and the swerves, the waist, the hips, the girls. I'm happy. And I think that this crystal detail also is rather nice. I think that it adds a sort of shine, a bit of shimmer, but it still allows that sheerness to come in and give it a sort of little sex appeal, which I think is really nice. I love the fact that I'm not seeing Mary J. Blige in like a big boot and a very sort of bright printed style. I feel like that's what I see a lot and it never really lands. This to me is hot. This to me is sex. This to me is gorgeous. This to me is Mary J. Blige of what I should be getting more often than not. It just looks great. It really, really looks great. It's simple, it's easy, it fits well, very content. Next up, we have Molly Ringwald, who's wearing Zac Posen. Now, I was talking to Zac and Molly about this look. This is from Storage, so it's not actually a newly designed Zac Posen dress. Tear, I know, I feel the same way. Molly was like, I want to wear something red. I loved it. I thought it was great. The fit of it is fantastic. I love a little Zac Posen sort of cut, a little fitted in, but sexy, but regal, but formal. I'm even intrigued by like the seam work, and it allows that sort of drape to come in. We can really see that seam splits right down the center. But if you zoom out, you really can't see it. If you're not looking for that seam, you really can't see it. And I think that's the great thing about Zac Posen is I think he's a little bit of a fashion architect. He understands how to actually put clothing together without it feeling clunky and dumpy and hard. And then on top of it, while the red dress is really easy, really flattering, really simple, you have this beautiful one shoulder sleeve detail where there is a bit of a cutout in the sleeve so you can see a little bit of arm, but there's a puff to the sleeve as well. And it really does a great job of texturizing everything, but not being so clunky, dumpy, asymmetrical, one shoulder dress. There's just such a nice element to it. I think the color looks great on her. Molly Ringwald, fashiongirly.com, love to see it. Next up we have Quinta Brunson, who's wearing Tanya Taylor. It's a pretty simple fringe dress. It's a little spaghetti strap moment. We can see that that fringe sort of pools right over the bust and comes in around the hips and the waist and sort of descends down, but not in an overwhelming, overbearing way. It's pretty simple, I would say, for Quinta. Normally I think she's a little bit more punchy, a little bit more bright, a little bit more colorful, but I think it's nice. I think it's easy. I think it's fine. I don't love it. I'm not obsessed with it. It's not really memorable, but at the same time, fits well. I'm fine with it. We can move on. Next up, we have Saweetie, who's wearing Cult Gaia. I love this. I love the sexy little raffia dress. I think it's perfect. I think it melds that sort of Cult Gaia through that raffia where it really is very natural fabric. It's something that real organic, non-GMO nature to the fiber. And at the same time, it's still sort of Saweetie where you have these little cutouts on the hips that I think is really sexy and really fun. At the same time, the raffia sort of comes in and it sculpts the waist, but it's through the pieces of raffia that sort of curve and uplift themselves off of the bust and the hip. And at the same time, the little high-low cutaway skirt, really fun, really cool, really into it, very solid. This is what I think should be happening for Saweetie. It's building herself and the brand's sort of house codes, DNA, aesthetic together, and I'm solid. I'm very happy, very content. Next up, we have Serena Williams, who's wearing Thom Browne. Now, this is a fully sequined black gown with big puff sleeves that sort of sit right around the sort of bicep to, I would say, like the forearm area. They're big, they're bold, they're puffed. It has a low cut little neckline, which I think is nice. It's cute, but the sleeves seem to be totally different material. These essentially faux sleeves, I believe, are made up of like a black reflective organza, and that's why you have that reflective waviness. It's really the light that's hitting it, and it's very different, I would say, than the black sequins up close. You can really see it. You can also see there's a little bit of like crystal drops that sit along these big puffs too. Here's my thing about the dress. I don't love it. I really don't. I think there's something about that draping of the sequins that I think looks a little tough. Maybe that's what they were trying to do, but I'm not really seeing it. Also, the way that it pools on the floor, I just don't think really feels liquidy, which is tough because if you're trying to do black sequins, I feel like it should have a liquid sort of effect to it. The big cape at the back, I also feel like could be a little bit more dramatic. Maybe if we're doing like full dramatic silhouettage. I do like the idea of like the Thom Browne, you know, white, red, white, blue, white stripes flowing off of it. Something about the look isn't fully connecting to me, and I really just think it's the length of the dress and the cut of the dress. It's fine with the black sequins. I don't need a drapage to give it more texture. It's textured enough. Next up, we have Teyana Taylor, who is wearing Christopher John Rogers. Now, this is a Christopher John Rogers look from like the Resort 2024 collection. It's a coated little black fabric, and it has a button-down shirt, which stops right around, I would say, the beginning of the forearm, right below the elbow. And it has these little colorful buttons that run right down the front of the placket. I love it. It goes from green to yellow to orange to red to purple to blue. It's fun, it's frisky, it's cute. And then you have a mermaid skirt at the same time that it looks like a trash bag, 100% without a doubt. I think that was the intention of it. I'm pretty positive that Christopher John Rogers was trying to sort of give this sort of different texture, tonality. You can look at a lot of his work and you can see those sort of elements of these textures, these styles really sort of pulling themselves in. So if you're saying, Luke, this looks like a trash bag, I would say you're right. But at the same time, listen, it's trash bag turned into fashion. I love the silhouette. I think that it creates a different feeling of what a gown can kind of be. I know this is a two-piece set, but at the same time, if you're not really looking for that, you would say, oh, an intriguing trash bag gown. But it's done so well. And the fact that you have these two pieces that are actually allowed to break themselves up at the same time, if that's what we want to do. It's definitely possible. It's cool. It's different. I like the fact that here Teyana has it buttoned all the way up. It gives it a much more strict sort of feeling to it, whereas on the runway it was unbuttoned and it sort of created just a more casual vibe. But I like the fact that Teyana Taylor brought it to a much more formal, regal feeling. Next up, we have Vanessa Hudgens, who's wearing Vera Wang. It's a really simple, I would say, black bodice with a little sweetheart neckline. It fits well. It looks beautiful. She's sucked in there. And then there was this big, beautiful, bountiful skirt in black. And I'm pretty positive it was bustle-ified because looked a little junk in the trunk of that skirt. But I loved it. I thought it was cool. Thought it was easy. I think Vera Wang is a designer that normally does, I would say, not simple, but she's very sort of minimal for the most part. And so if you're going to do minimal, again, just make sure it's effortless, it's easy, it fits well. I think this is a good example of that. I think the black gloves, maybe not for me. Maybe, you know, I wish we'd done a matching fabric, but at the same time, I'm fine with it. It makes sense. She looks good. And finally, we have Ziwei, who is wearing Loewe. Again, I think it's the exact same example. I like the fact that Loewe also has done pretty much all black dresses on this red carpet, which I think is funny. But you have this plunging sweetheart neckline. It's black silk. It's really easy. And I love these sort of faux cape stole situations that are on Ziwei's arm. I think it's cool. I think it adds dimension. If you look at it on the runway, it's a little more closed up. But I like the fact that she brought in red carpet feeling rather than wearing those brown leather boots. I like the boots. I think they switch up the gown element. But I think here, it shows that you can also do very regal, easy, beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, simple heels. I think it's cute. I think it's easy. Again, there's that little bit of difference in a Loewe look, but it's still very much so commercial, and somebody would say, oh, I want to wear that. So that is our CFDA Awards video. Let's talk about best and worst. Best? Oh, it's tough because I think everybody kind of turned it out, to be completely honest. I'm going to put Ayo Edibiri in there in that Loewe look. I thought it was easy, breezy, beautiful. Cover girl. I liked Ayesha Curry's Diotima. I liked Anne Hathaway in the Ralph Lauren. Cynthia Erivo, Thom Browne. Who else? Emma Chamberlain, Thom Browne, I thought was good. Greta Lee and Loewe. Kim in the Chrome Hearts, I thought looked really good. Kim Petras and LaCroix, I thought if anybody's going to do vintage, I'm into that. LaKeith, Stanfield, and Amiri, I also really liked. Mary J. Blige and Christian Siriano, that is a curveball I was not expecting to be thrown. Saweetie, Kalkaya, good. I'm happy. I'm content. As for worst, it's a little tough because I don't think there was anything really, really terrible. Nothing really made me want to cry. I'd have to say like Gwyneth and Goop, but everybody else I thought was good. I really didn't think there was anything bad, terrible, awful, horrible. So, oh, and Serena Williams. I didn't love that. I really didn't love that, unfortunately. So, but I hope you guys all enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and TTY. Well.